Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Ref Collective. My name is Christian.
And I'm Mike.
And we are
the Ref Collective.
Everybody, thank you so much for joining us on this first episode, Mike, that we have here going on. And we wanted to take some time, Mike, to give a little bit of an introduction about who we are, right? A little bit about our background. And also, we wanted to talk about why is it that we started the Ref Collective, right? And I think it's a mission and it's a vision that we have for this. But why don't we start with you, Mike? Tell us a little bit about who Mike is and a little bit of background on you, buddy.
Oh, thank you, Christian. I've been playing soccer my entire life, and I was blessed to play overseas for 4 years. And, several years ago, when I moved here to Franklin, where it's just a suburb of Nashville, south of Nashville, we had an adult league, and it kind of folded. And so myself and 7 people started a community called Middle Tennessee Soccer Lions. We all sat in a room, put $1,000 in each, and we started Middle Tennessee. Now we have like 1,400 adults, and we do tournaments and all kinds of stuff. And, the evolution of this for me was that I went into reffing with my son, to be with my son, because he wanted to make money for his car. But now it's become more of a passion for me. And so with Middle Tennessee, I started reffing our own games, and I see a lot of things that there's a lot of lack of communication. And so, coming and meeting you and then us doing this together, it's been kind of the evolution of how we got from, being a player all my life to being a ref with my son, and then meeting you as a player, being on the same team, and then lo and behold, we're reffing also. And then this year we get to ref together, right?
That was so much fun, honestly. Yeah. That was great. That was great. But tell me a little bit about when you were a soccer player, right? I believe that the culture of the refereeing and the players and the coaches was a little bit different than what it is today. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that too?
Christian, you're right. I started off in California, then moved to Europe and played in Germany for a while. And, there was a different level as far as the culture of the players and the respect. It was like you and I growing up in a Hispanic, household. You never talk back to your parents. And
you better not.
No. I mean, in our culture, they got the old zapato.
La chancla.
Real quick. The Clint Eastwood style,
That's right.
So we didn't have this, now where you got players and you got spectators and you got coaches reacting in a negative manner to the refs. Even though as referees, we may not make every call perfectly, but we do the best that we can. We make it fair to everybody. So there's a big different culture to now where there's a lot of back and forth. And now there's that big us versus them culture. And, you and I have come up to this deal and this is why we want to be here and put this on a platform for everybody here, and so we can talk about that culture difference.
So you're saying that when you were a soccer player, there was a lot more respect towards the referees. So there was not a lot of talking back to the referee and yelling back and all that stuff. Is that kind of what you experienced?
100% correct. I mean, you played in Mexico, I played in Germany, and if you said anything to the ref, you got benched. I mean, you were done. So yeah, it's a different culture. And what about you and your experiences? I mean, especially because, I was in Germany and I played in the States, and you played in Mexico, and now you play in the States. Yeah. Help me understand your perception so we can give the audience an idea of what we're seeing now versus what we did when we first, began our soccer careers.
Definitely. I actually played in Mexico. I got to play semi-pro in Mexico as well. And growing up there, our coaches were very, very strict on focusing on the game, right? And however, there's something that we called colmillo in Mexico. And I have been trying to find that word here, which basically is when you had this experience as a soccer player and then you fake things, right? You fake a foul, you fake, things like that happen, and so trying to trick the referee, I guess, right? Yeah. But we will probably do things like that, but we would never really yell at the referee or talk back or do things like that I see a lot more happening today. So I got to play back in Mexico for a long time. I came to the U.S. right after high school, right? Because I wanted to take a vacation, just visit family and friends, and then when I came here, I started playing in a league, and I got drafted to the all-star team of the league back in Orange County, California. And I was enjoying it quite a bit. But even then, I guess as a player, it was never really in my mind like fighting with the referee. That was not part of my culture, right? Part of my soccer player culture, I guess, right? I mean, if the ref called something, great. You know, if they didn't call it, or I may ask, hey, why didn't you call this or whatever? But never in a disrespectful manner. So there was a lot of respect from that perspective. Now, the big difference is the audience, right? The people watching the game, the people outside of the game. In Mexico, it gets very, very fiery, right?
Very emotional. Mexico's very emotional. That's a true statement. That's in Europe and even in like England, they call them the soccer hooligans. You know, the fans.
Right. I mean, it's a passion. I guess
it's passion.
They have so much passion for the game.
Absolutely.
That, you know, any back call or anything like that is part of the ingrained culture. And unfortunately, I'm seeing it more and more here as well in the audience, right? You go to watch Nashville FC, SC, and you see that and you hear that, right? And I guess in the stadium, you know, people go and they'll relieve the stress, right? And doing that or whatever. But you know what? The ref can't not hear you, right? I mean, you're so far out. There's so much noise. The ref can't hear you. But that's not true when you have club soccer or rec soccer.
Very true.
Right? And so I think that the then and the now, I am starting to see a change in that. I don't know about you. How was it then and how is it now from your perspective?
Well, you know, I still see the same thing. Back then, you know, we had parents that were very vocal, as we could say. But there was a lot more respect. Here, you come back to the States and to present day, you know, I have several calls I'll make, and a parent thinks they know the rules, and they're screaming offsides, foul. Well, okay, did it meet all three rules of the handball? No, it did not. So there's a lack of education. So they get very emotional. So I see it here, and, you know, in my experience reffing, I've actually dismissed two parents. Two parents. I said, we're not going to start the game until you leave. Because it got to the point where it was degrading for the children. Yeah. And the children were starting to cry. You know, and I think, you know, that's where we're at today as a society is there's, you know, hear me roar. Well, it's about me. Well, that's not the case. The kids are why we're here. Yeah. And the players enjoy the game. That's why we're here. Definitely. You know, have you seen that in some of the club games and stuff that you've done?
Oh, definitely. I have seen that. And, you know, one thing that's exciting, we're going to have our first guest here in a couple episodes, which we're going to expand a lot more on this topic. Okay. You know, and we're going to go deep into this. So I hope that everybody follows us and follows that next episode as well, because we're going to be interviewing Jim Deck, right?
Absolutely. Top-notch guy.
So I'm excited about that because we're going to have a very in-depth conversation around that too. But let me go back to when you became a ref. All right, so tell me that story a little bit more. Let's expand on that. You say you became a ref because your son wanted to become a ref or something like that? What happened?
Yeah, well, you know, at his age at the time, you know, he has to earn his privilege of a vehicle. You know, okay. I would match whatever he would save, and he would, you know, get pet sitting and all that stuff, and he would make money, but he noticed that he was always playing soccer. We were always at the fields, and, you know, some of our friends were the kids that he saw in school were reffing. And so he said he wanted to ref. I said, sure, son, I'll do it with you. And I did it to be with my son, to be honest, to spend time with him. And that evolution came into, unfortunately, my son became a statistics. He has quit reffing.
Oh, no.
Because of the parents.
Oh, okay.
You know, he's a kid. He was 14, 13 and 14, and parents are coming at him, and they're making, you know, derogatory remarks, and ref, call it this way, you got to see it this. He's a kid. He's a kid. So I have lived it personally. You know, stuff we're talking about, the negativity towards the refs. I've lived it personally, and so I see this, and this is why I'm so passionate about it now, because it was something I was supposed to do with my son. We're supposed to ref together. Now, since we started this podcast, he said he wants to ref again.
Let's go.
That's what I'm talking about, right? You know,
I love hearing that.
The positivity that we're bringing, and he sees what you and I are trying to do.
Oh, I love hearing. That's a great testimony right there. I love it. So, did you think that you were going to like reffing as much as you do now when you were going through the program?
Let's laugh about that. No. You know, it was to be with my kid. And, you know, I ref our leagues. You know, you and I both ref our adult league. And if you notice, I got gray hair now.
Oh, man. Okay.
It is tough to ref the adults. You know, and that is kind of one of the things that you and I have experienced together.
Yeah.
Is that I never thought I would enjoy it as much. And there's times I don't enjoy it. I really don't. Because it's, even though the friends of mine is blah, 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 blah. It's their emotions. And it gets old. It's like, come on, man. Let's just play the game. You're not getting paid to play here. Right. You're paying to play. Let's enjoy the game.
Yeah.
And so it gets unenjoyable, but you've experienced it yourself. I mean, you've reffed the adults and you play on my team. So, I mean,
for me, it was interesting because I was a player my whole life, right? So I was playing and it's Mexico here, watching it, right? I even play FIFA. I don't know. Maybe in the future we'll do some Xbox FIFA tournaments or PlayStation FIFA tournaments. We'll see. But anyways, that's whole nother topic. But I've been a player, right? And then I never thought about becoming a ref. I became a coach, and I've been coaching for a long time. I coached in different clubs and different age groups and such, different levels. And so I became a coach as well, but I never thought about becoming a ref. The only reason why I actually decided to become a ref was because of my daughter, right? So my daughter was like, hey, Dad, I want to make some money, right? I would love to be able to become a ref. And so she's like, can you do it with me? And I'm like, I really don't want to. But if I do it with you, then let's do it. I think it will be a good bonding moment, right, for us to kind of do it together and such. But I never thought I would do it because I was gonna like it, right? I did it mainly because of my daughter. Similar story to yours. Well, I went through the program, and as I went through the program, I started realizing that being a ref is much harder than I thought. And it gave me perspective as a coach and as a player. It gave me a lot of perspective on, you know what, refs are human beings too, and they're going to make mistakes. And they're going to make back calls sometimes because it's not an easy thing to do, right? So I was like, okay, let me ref my first games. So just like everybody else that starts being a ref, they go and do rec league type of refereeing, which is where you want to start.
Or you want to cut your teeth at. That's what they call it, cutting your teeth. Correct.
And it's like, you're going to start there because it's easy, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, but the parents in rec seems to be a little bit more of a problem than in club or anywhere else. Like, I was very, very surprised by that, right? So how much passion they show too, and sometimes the respect they show too, right? So anyways, I went through that. I became a ref, and then I remember doing my first game as a referee, and I was like, man, I really like this. Yeah, like I really like it, and just running, being able to do exercise, and then getting paid for that. Like,
hey, that's a bonus. I mean, let's admit it, that's a bonus.
I don't mind that at all, So, and then I was like, well, I think on the harder games, I may want to be an AR because it's gonna be much easier. Well, I did an AR game, and I was like, what do I look? Do I look at the offside? Do I look at the ball going out? Do I look at the player fighting? What do I look? I didn't realize being an AR was even harder, than the rest. So anyways, but I love it. I love that. And I really enjoyed it when I was doing my first games. And I was like, man, I need to connect with a lot more assignors so they can give me more games. And in future episodes, we're going to be talking with assignors. And all Absolutely. The process, to how to get involved. Because sometimes you become a ref and you don't know what's next. Like, Absolutely. Who do I contact? How do I get games? And we'll discuss that in the future. But, man, I love it. I got to ref 3 games on a Saturday, and I ran, it was 12, 15 miles that day, man. It was insane. And I was like, this is awesome, right? Because I was having so much fun that I didn't really feel it as much. Mm-hmm. Of course, once I got home, I was like, oh, everything hurts. But during the time, I was like, man, I did so much exercise, and I really enjoyed it. So there's that side, right? That I think there are many that are probably in my situation where they're like, I never want to become a ref. I don't ever want to become a ref. Until you try it. Try it out. So I would encourage anybody that's on the fence if they should or should not. First of all, it's a great experience with your kids. My daughter did it. Now my son became a ref.
That's fantastic.
And we were able to ref games together. That was beautiful, man. I've been coaching my son for a while, right? And so we've been bonding on that side as a coach and player, right? But then he became a ref, and we refed games together. And man, that was so deep, man, because I got to experience that with him as well. So we were able to get perspective on the game from different angles. I was able to coach him and give him feedback on what he needs to do better or whatever it is, right? And he loved it. He made over almost $240 for 2 Saturdays. I mean, he told his friends. Now all his friends want to become refs.
Yes. I mean, let's face it, as a kid, that's their main goal, is the monetary side. Yeah. But then as fathers doing it with them, we get the connection side.
Yeah.
Which, parents, you have to understand that when you connect with the child, especially on something that they love, you're building a memory that's going to last. But now you're connecting on the intellectual level of teaching the laws of the game, which to me is passion.
Yeah.
Because if you teach the children the laws of the game, they learn to understand how to communicate to their own players. And oh, no, that's not right. That is a foul. You can't do that. You'd be surprised at how much they talk to the other players. Yeah, the ref told me this. He educated me on this. And, we're talking about the parents. Let me ask you this. Is there an experience with a parent that pops out in your head in one of your ref games?
It was during a rec game.
Okay.
To me, when as a coach, you win a game, and what happens? All the parents come in, oh, good job, coach. Good job. You did great. You did fantastic. But then as a player, you play a good game, and then they're like, oh, you did great.
Yeah.
But nobody comes to the ref and says, oh, good job, ref. I have never experienced it.
But
right?
It's very rare. I've had it happen, but
right.
It's very rare. We're the unsung hero, as they say,
Yeah. And so I was reffing a rec game. And as I was reffing a rec game, at the end of the game, a lady comes to me. And she's like, ref, you were fantastic. Thank you so much. You did a great job today. I love it that you gave feedback to the kid, right? And you taught him what was right, what was wrong. And you know what? I learned too. Like, it wasn't just the kid that you were teaching us as parents too, to understand the game a lot better.
Absolutely. And that is what's needed. Because in my experience, I had the same thing happen. I like to communicate. I communicate more than a lot of refs, and especially some of the refs I've reffed with, and I'm kind of shocked that they don't communicate as much. But, recently, Christian, is at a game that I was at that was a club game, state club game. It got very chippy. And, chippy meaning they want to see how many fouls they get away with. Shoulders and shoulders are good, but the minute you extend the arm,
right,
that's a foul.
Right.
And so I really had to control the game hard, and I really ended up having to give 1 yellow card. And I told the boys, this is the law of the game. And then as I was leaving to my car, not 1, not 2, but 3 families came up to me. It said, ref, you did a fantastic job. Did you know you had your own cheering section as a ref?
Oh, wow.
I was like, really? She goes, you handled that game better than anybody I thought, because it was getting so physical. But you controlled it, and you controlled, the children, and you explained to them why the fouls were the word. And I think that is such a great way to communicate. You did a fantastic job. And I was like, well, thank you. Because we never get those compliments. We always get, you suck. That's a bad call.
Right.
And even, that's important, especially when you have children that are reffing. It's important for the parents, the coaches, and even the players to say, good job, ref. Thank you. Because you're building that self-esteem for the children. We're losing a lot of kids to bad behavior, which is another reason you and I are here.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so true. So we want to definitely encourage you that if you have, a situation where you experience a good game from a ref, the refs are human beings just like all of us, right? And so they need to hear all the positive things as well. They need to be encouraged, especially those kids that are starting. That encouragement just helps us continue to do a good job, right? And to get better, right? We're not going to be perfect, but we want to work hard to get better. And I think that is the differentiator, right? That you see when a ref takes his job seriously, right? And they really want to make sure that they want to keep the game safe, right? Kids safe, players safe, and just keep the game moving, right? And so I think when you take it very seriously, you're going to hear more and more of those type of feedbacks, and that will encourage you as a parent, as an spectator, to continue to do that. But you're right. Why did we start it, the Ref Collective? Like, can you tell us a little bit about what your perspective is on this?
Well, you and I become really close. We're close friends, and we started as teammates, and we had the same experiences. We kept talking about, what is needed, what is missing. you know, I've had so many new refs that I've recruited call me, hey, Mike, what happens if you do this? Or what happens with this? And I had this happen. And then you started talking about, you know, Mike, I have this issue, and you and I've talked about it. I said, always call me. And I've even called you when I had that one experience. Hey, well, what do you think, man? Did I handle this right? Because I'm always willing to learn. And there's that gap of not only education, because you get the formal education when you attend the reffing classes, but the education shouldn't stop there. And they do have C&E, continuing education for refs, and they have clinics. But in between those, you know, every 5-6 months, where do the refs get their mentorship, the people they can talk to? A lot of them are afraid to ask older refs. They don't ask the mentors a lot. They're very quiet. So with the children, I like to engage them. And I'll talk to them before and after the game and during the game. You did a great job. Hey, keep an eye on this, and here's why. Oh, thanks, ref. And I have other young refs say, I love when I ref with you, Mr. Mike. I'm like, good. That's what I want. So, you know, you and I saw that gap. And that's what we're hoping to fulfill is close that gap. And, you know, I get it from my perspective, but then we get it from your perspective, because we may not ref the same games all the time. We don't. We've only refed 1, maybe 2 together. And we got a couple more coming up. But we don't. So you're seeing something that I don't see. And then we also have refs coming on. We're going to have parents coming on. We're going to have coaches come on the podcast. We want to make this, the Ref Collective, an engulfment of the entire soccer family and make it one unity.
That's right. That's right. And, you know, so as always, I became a ref as well. And I was like, okay, I love it, but I don't feel fully enabled, fully ready, right, to ref my first game. I remember I got thrown into my first game. I'm like, man, what am I supposed to do? Let me review the loss again. You know, I was trying to figure it out.
Well, let me interrupt for 1 second.
Yeah.
You made a valid point. What you guys don't understand, you have age groups, you have club groups, you have rec groups, and the laws are not the same. So, I mean, you made a valid point, and I'm glad you said that, is that we as refs have to learn for each one. Some have a build-out line, which I never heard of before. I didn't know that, you know, they no longer allowed to head kids at under 14, I think it is. But then you go to the club level, and they can do it at, I think, 12 or 13.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you made a valid point, and that is why it's so crucial that you brought that point up and that we have this here. So I realize that you missed that one part, and it was like, I'm left out. What else do you feel that wasn't taught to you or explained to you or expressed to you when you became a ref?
Yeah, besides the laws, right, that changed tremendously in different areas, right? High school, middle school, club versus even within club, there's different leagues that they play. NPL versus state league, and an NPL you have to collect the cards, and state league you don't. On ECNL, I mean, all these different things that sometimes you don't really know, right? So we wanted to create this space to be able to help educate, right? To be able to, first of all, advocate for referees, right? So be that voice of the referee to give you perspective on how the referee sees the game, the challenges, the struggles that referees experience, right? Like what everybody does as they become referees, right? Sometimes there is continued education, but we feel like we need more on-field education as well. Have conversations, build a community of other refs with experience as well, where you feel comfortable and safe sharing your mistakes, sharing what went wrong, what went right, even, right?
Yeah.
The positive experiences that we've shared together about parents coming to us, right? I think, so we have that desire to be able to advocate for referees, build that community for referees, right? But also outside of just referees, the whole soccer family. We want to be able to educate, right? And education is not just for referees alone. It's needed. It's a big need in the referee community. But there's a need to be able to educate parents, spectators, players, coaches. Bring in perspective. That's why I love what you said. Yes, we're going to be bringing different people to the podcast, from parents, coaches, players, right? At different levels, even pros. We're trying to bring some pros as well here, right?
Yeah.
We're already working on that to give that perspective and the understanding that we are all in this together.
Absolutely.
Because games cannot happen without referees.
I mean, we are the unsung heroes, because without us, the game doesn't go on, or it doesn't count.
Yeah, right.
If they don't have a ref. But you mentioned the education part of the parents. And that was a key point. I remember this time when I was doing a U14 championship game with the girls at Downs Boulevard. And the parents were screaming in the first half. Foul this, foul that, offsides this, offsides that. So at halftime, I took both my refs and we went over to the sidelines and we addressed some of those concerns. Because what you mentioned, educate and unite. I educated the parents, and after the game, parents came up to me and said, "Thank you for letting us know. We didn't know." And I appreciate that. I appreciated them for being, accepting of the advice. But I did it because the game was getting. The girls were playing for the championship, and the parents were bringing it to here. It's like, you need to calm down, and let's talk about what you're seeing and what the actual laws of the game are. I took 2 minutes to explain handballs and offsides to them, and they said, "Thank you so much for explaining. We didn't realize that."
Wow.
And that's all it takes to educate and then unite. Because then they're not screaming at us for bad calls.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, he was right. She was offside. Oh, no, there wasn't offside. You didn't play the ball."
Such a good point. And, I had that experience too, now that you're bringing that up. I was an AR for a ECNL game. And as I was going, and at ECNL level, you expect the parents to be a little more understanding, right, so of offside, right? So there was an offside that I called, and he's like, "What do you mean it's not offside?" I'm like, it's the moment he touches the ball, and I try to explain it, and I started explaining what the offside was. In a matter of milliseconds sometimes, you have just a few seconds there to explain as they're setting up to kick the offside. Even if you take that time to turn, acknowledge, "Hey, I understand, here's why."
Yeah.
Like, I went and continued going, and then you could see kind of like the gears going, and they're like, "Oh, wait, hey, ref, you're right. I checked it out. You're right. It was not offside." Like, wow, that's interesting. That's interesting because sometimes what happens as a ref, they tell you, "Hey, that was not offside," and then you start doubting. Wait, hold on.
Yes.
Was I wrong then? Or like, what? No, you have to be firm because when you know the laws, right? You have the experience. Now, there's times where you acknowledge to be able to see, was I wrong on that one? And sometimes I'm wrong. Yeah. And sometimes I'm like, "Oh, shoot, I think that was wrong," and you have to acknowledge that too, because I think that really helps break that barrier, right?
Yep.
You say that a lot, Mike, and I love that you say it's us between them between us. We need to break that wall.
Absolutely.
Can you expand on that whole breaking of the wall?
Yeah, like when we talk about, in general, people in general, okay, we live on emotions and perceptions, and our perception is our reality, even though it may not be factual, right? Mm-hmm. So people react to that, and that creates a division because they're saying that this is my point of view, I'm seeing it, you're not listening. Well, then that wall goes up because now the person on my side, well, you're not speaking to me in a respectful manner, so why am I going to listen to you? So what does that do? There's that wall, right? Mm-hmm. And that wall stops all communication. And Charlie Kirk said it once. When we stop talking, division and violence happens. When we stop talking, violence happens.
That's true.
And it's true because people get emotional and they want to come up. I mean, we just saw an article where that 17-year-old ref quit because he was assaulted. A 17-year-old ref. Gosh. Are you kidding me? Talk about it. Let's break that wall down. I don't want to see a wall. I want to say, hey, if you got a problem, let's talk about it. Come over to the sideline. He ref. And I've had coaches do that. And I explained to him, here's the law of the 30-30 law. I didn't know that. But you said you've been playing soccer for 30 years. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I know exactly. It's because the laws are constantly changing. Every year as refs, do we not get updates on laws and the way they change?
Uh-huh.
I mean,
so true.
It's surprising. So we need to communicate better, and we need to lead by example. That's what I would like. Lead by example to break that wall down and create the unity that you and I are so passionate about.
Definitely. All right, so we're getting here to the end of the episode, but as we're closing here, any closing remarks, any closing thoughts that you have, Mike, for us?
Yeah, our biggest desire is to unite everybody, but more importantly, I want to make an impact to the young children that are coming up looking at being a refs. That's something I'm really passionate about, is bringing them up and encouraging them and mentoring them. And encouraging, because we're losing them, and Jim Deck will speak to this in a couple of weeks because he knows the actual the statistics on that. But we're losing refs every year because of that abuse. So, let's go home and think about our closing thoughts of let's be better. And Christian, I want to ask you something though. This was your idea. It really was. this was your heart, your passion. So can you tell us a little bit about what your vision is, your vision for the Ref Collective as a whole, and what you want to impact?
Yeah, no, thank you. You know, I realized the need that exists, right, to be able to help these young referees and referees that maybe have been doing it for a while, but that have been experiencing the same kind of abuse and just maybe sometimes lack of education, right, or lack of resources, right, that it exists for many. And maybe those resources exist already, but they don't know where to go, right, where they are, where they are for them to be able to use them. And also, I realized something when I met you, Mike, that I felt comfortable coming to you and asking you a question about a game, about a rule, right? About a law of the game, you know, or about something a mistake that I made during the game. I'm very comfortable because I knew that the feedback that I was going to get from you was going to be a very positive, constructive feedback that was going to help me get better.
Thank you.
And so we needed more of that. So I was like, man, we need these more. Not just for me, not just for you, for everybody. So how can we create a space where everybody can help each other out, right? We have different experience levels. We have different perspectives on how to approach a game. And so I wanted to build a community, right, of refs that are in need of these. You know, so as we do that, I also wanted to be able to bring the voice of the referee to everybody. Right. To be able to bring that perspective of the referee to everybody, and so that everybody can understand. Because when I became a referee, it gave me so much perspective. And I keep growing, I keep learning, right? As a coach, as a player, as an spectator. But now when I'm about to yell at the referee for a bad call, I remember, wait, I know how it feels to be there. I know that I can make mistakes, and I've made the same mistakes in the past. So it's giving me perspective. So I want to make sure that we all bring the same perspective to the field, right, to our community. I wanted to be able to bring that education to everybody, right? I wanted us to be able to bring that education and to educate everybody that's involved. And we're going to be doing this by creating this podcast, by bringing different voices, by bringing different experiences, right, so everybody can hear that. And ultimately, the biggest passion is to unite. Break that barrier, that wall that you keep talking about, which I love that you say it. Break that wall and unite. Unification, right? The unification of the soccer family. Unite the soccer family. Bring everybody together to understand that soccer cannot exist without players. Soccer cannot exist without coaches, without spectators. But soccer cannot exist without refs.
Well said.
Right?
Well said, Christian.
So, everybody, thank you for staying here until the end. I hope to see you guys on the next one. I'm Christian.
And I'm Mike.
And we are the Ref Collective.